Okay, so this is part two. Remember that they're changing my voice. So I was really getting pressed there for a moment. I had to kind of calm things down, outmaneuver the enemy. And there might be some background noise because of where I had to park. I was being filmed in a lot of places. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 56 through 58. The most gentle, sensitive woman among you, so sensitive and gentle that she would not venture to touch the ground with the sole of her foot, will begrudge the husband she loves and her own son or daughter, okay, her offspring, the afterbirth from her womb and the children she bears. For in her dire need she intends to eat them secretly because of the suffering your enemy will inflict on you during the siege of your cities. If you do not carefully follow all the words of this law which are written in this book, and do not revere this glorious and awesome name, the Lord your God, the Lord will send fearful plagues on you and on your descendants, harsh and prolonged disasters, and severe and lingering illnesses, right? Spiritual illnesses. I'm just going to go ahead and finish the chapter. He will bring on you all the diseases of Egypt that you dreaded, and they will cling to you. The Lord will also bring on you every kind of sickness and disaster not recorded in this book of the law, until you are destroyed. Key phrase, until you are destroyed. You who are as numerous as the stars in the sky will be left few in number, because you do not obey the Lord your God. Okay, so what happens is, that the stars in Revelation that are struck down by the dragon's tail, right? The dragon's tail is one way for it to get at people, instead of its head biting you, its tail can knock you over and then it can bite you. And so it represents the devil's kind of tactics and kind of, and it's a snake-like thing, it's kind of tactics and strategy and underhanded methods, okay, that brought down the Israelites, the Jews, and that is what happened, right? You see in the various books that God predicts that the Jews will be destroyed, and Christ comes and says the kingdom of heaven will be taken away from you, and then they're supposed to scramble and obey God through me, and it doesn't look like any of them will do it, and if they did, it's too late for the planet to keep going, just as Isaiah predicted in Isaiah 24, and then the story ends, and people who keep reproducing, right, their offspring are cut off from heaven, and so on and so forth, and they're better off growing up with the truth than being some kind of sissy fairy living in a fantasy land. Okay, they're better off knowing the truth to the best of their ability and living that. Okay, it also says that females are going to be basically whores, right? Even the most gentle and virtuous seeming of them. And that's key here. That's very key, because people need to understand that it's not worth trying to find your dream girl on this planet and find your life here. Okay, that it's time to go. It's time to stop reproducing, time to rally, time to take the last stand for God Almighty. As you can imagine, people don't respect people who have it in them to persecute me and change my voice, then pretend that they're bad or superior. It is impossible for anybody, like their wife or their kids, to respect them, or their offspring to respect, their parents, right? So say they have a grandkid, they're not going to respect their father, or they have a great-grandkid, they're not going to respect their they're not going to respect their grandson. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so what was this video a good example of? It was a good example of me being provoked while making the videos and getting very irritated. Okay, and as I was driving away, I muttered some things about gang stalkers. I drove by some and so on and so forth. And of course, that's expected. If you do something important and people interrupt you, and you have to make it outside of your house in the first place because you're getting fumed in your house, you're going to get irritated, right? That's the normal human response. It's not the normal human response from mental health to look at this situation and say, hey, he has 23 witnesses to this stuff occurring, but we're going to hold it against him that he has the normal human response and insist that people pretend that he's mentally ill. That's abnormal, that's evil.